Wow, just wow. Nobody expected this. Hello everybody, it's Ian here once again from OUFC Fan View. And what a day it is to be an Oxford United fan. Oxford entered the critical part of their season with three back-to-back home games against promotion rivals. The first of which was at home to Peterborough United. So Oxford's recent form has been very good, and it's got them back into the final playoff position with back-to-back 4-0 victories. The morale was good around the club and with the fan base, but there was a lot of talk about the sides that we have played, about playing teams down the bottom of the table that haven't really given us a test. Well, today was a big test. It was against the Peterborough United side that themselves are in red-hot form and still have aspirations of getting the final automatic promotion spot. And Oxford, well, we haven't been good against the top sides this season and haven't been good against them under Des Buckingham, but that ship has been well and truly righted now. Unfortunately, Oxford couldn't make it back-to-back 4-0 victories, but they won one step better. It's beyond and above our wildest dreams, Oxford United fans. It finished Oxford United 5, Peterborough United 0. Oodalally, what a time to be alive. What an amazing performance, what an amazing result. And we will go through absolutely everything. We'll go over the team news, I'll give my review of the game, and I'll give my final thoughts at the end of the video. If you want to jump to the end of the video and just see the final thoughts, then that's absolutely fine. You can do so by using the timestamps down in the description or on the video itself. That's fine. I won't be offended, but the very least you can do is hit the like button, because that does help me out a lot. And if you do like the content on this channel, consider subscribing. Let's take it back to the start of the game and let's go through this Oxford United team news. And all the talk and all the fears were about the fitness of Brannagan and Moore. And those fears were realised when both Cam Brannagan and Elliott Moore were injured and out of this game. It felt like a massive body blow to Oxford United. Two of the most pivotal players. Elliott Moore's been a rock at the back, and Cameron Brannagan has been everything to Oxford United this season. Probably the two best players, but Oxford United have to find a way to overcome it. They had to shuffle the deck, and it meant that Sam Long came back into centre-back. It meant Finn Stevens is back in the side and coming in at right-back. Josh McEachran, who came on for Brannagan in that 4-0 win over Burton, did well in that game, starts in midfield. But Mark Harris is declared fit. There were some injury doubts over him, but he does start up front. Marcus McGuane is recalled from his exile and does get a place on the bench, as does Ossian Smith. But once again, there is no Will Goodwin, and Oxford's form is kind of glossing over the fact that he's not been available. But what is going on there with his injury? Let's have a look at the visitors then, Peterborough United, and what a week it had been for Darren Ferguson's POSH side. They beat Wycombe in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. Big round of applause for doing that one. Always fun to see Wycombe lose, with that wonderful goal from Burrows at the end of the game. And then they absolutely dispatched Port Vale with ease on Wednesday night. It's an unchanged side for the third time in a row for a POSH side that sit fourth in the table and very much still have hopes of getting into that automatic place above, second automatic place above Bolton or Derby. Borough are the top scorers in League One, so not surprisingly, the forward line gets a lot of plaudits, and they ripped Oxford to shreds at London Road earlier on in the season. But it is a formidable side of forward line apart. It's easy to overlook the likes of Harrison Burrows, who in particular is having an amazing week, but also the likes of Knight and Edwards at the back have usually been very good. But it is their third game in a week, so there was still hope that there might be a bit of tiredness creeping into Peterborough's game, and also not unfamiliar to the odd stinker Peterborough United. Those were my clutching of straws moments at the start of the game. They did come true. So let's move on to the game then. It was a fast start to this game, and you could already see, even in the opening 10 minutes, that Peterborough are a level above the opposition that we've played recently. But it was making for an entertaining game, and both sides were looking dangerous going forward. Murphy picking Peterborough's pocket early in this one. Get used to hearing that time and time again. To the byline, put a decent cross in, but Edwards marshalled the situation well and was able to clear it up for Peterborough. But then Peterborough went straight down the other end. and Mason Clark putting a wicked ball across and Jones heading over from close range. I think both sides will feel they should have done better from those openings. 15 minutes on the clock and Peterborough moving the ball really well, this time down the right-hand side, and Poku sold Greg Lee with a dummy on the edge of the box, put a nice ball into the edge of the area. Randall arrived and met the header well, but it was a good save by Jamie Cumming. But just 3 minutes later, and Oxford got themselves the penalty and got themselves into the lead. It was neat play by Oxford in possession, but then when they lost it, they were also very dogged in their press, and it was that press that forced Peterborough into mistake. They were at the back and they were trying to play their way out, but it was slack pass to Katongo and he was on his heels a little bit, and Murphy read the danger and he got in there ahead of Katongo. He was brought down and it was given as an Oxford United penalty. Straight away you look round and like, where's Brannagan? He's the man. But there was no Cam Brannagan, but it didn't matter because Mark Harris was there, and Mark Harris smashed this penalty through Steer and into the back of the net. 18 goals for Mark Harris now, and Oxford are on their way. And as dangerous as Oxford have looked going forward in recent weeks, I think the thing that impressed me the most was the commitment of the Oxford players, the discipline and the hard work that they put in to keep Peterborough out at the other end. Posh was still moving the ball around very well, but they just couldn't really create too many goal scoring openings, but it was making for a very entertaining game. On 26 minutes though, Peterborough missed a golden chance, and the game could have been oh so different if they took this chance. It was a long ball forward down the left hand side. Mason Clark got the better of Stevens, probably the only mistake Finn Stevens made in the game, making a bit of a mess of a bouncing ball, and Mason Clark put it on a plate really across the goal, across the 6-yard box, even closer than the 6-yard box for Ricky J. Jones, and somehow Ricky Jade put the ball over from about 2 or 3 yards. Oxford escape a huge let-off there, and it remained 1-0. And it was a huge let-off that Oxford took full advantage of, because just 4 minutes later, Oxford doubled their lead, and this one was again all about the press, but it was also gift-wrapped by the Peterborough goalkeeper. What an error it was. Goodrum and Harris doing very well to keep the pressure on, and Posh determined to play their way out from the back. Steer got the ball back and was a little too very casual in fact, playing the ball. Tried to just chip it over Josh Murphy to get the attack going, but failed to do so. And Josh Murphy couldn't believe his luck, headed it into an empty net from 8 yards out. Didn't matter how many yards out. It was an easy chance. Murphy put it away. It was gift wrapped for him by Peterborough. But if you had Murphy down if you had Murphy on a bet to score with his head today, you'd have got some good odds on it. And Peterborough aren't really a side that take a backward step, are they? They if anything, when they're 2-0 down, it's throw even more bodies forward, and that's what we saw. And it just felt like they were playing into Oxford's hands a little bit. And 8 minutes later, Oxford made it 3-0, and yeah, as I say, this time again, Peterborough giving the ball away quite cheaply in the Oxford half, and it led the break. Goodrum played it to Murphy, and Murphy is on absolute fire at the moment. He got down the left-hand side, played it back across goal. Maybe what he should have done at the start of the game, played it back across goal rather than going back into the penalty spot rather than going across the 6-yard box. But he does it this time. Ruben Rodrigues is arriving, and Ruben Rodrigues calmly finishes from about 10 to 12 yards to make it 3-0 to Oxford United. What is going on? And Oxford continued to put the pressure on Peterborough and looked more likely to get a fourth than Peterborough were to get back into this one. Josh McEachran with a couple of excellent crosses, and he has been excellent since coming into the side from Cam Brannagan. A couple of set pieces for McEachran which caused problems. 44 minutes on the clock. Tyler Goodrum wins the ball back off Knight high up the pitch. Goodrum showing a good bit of strength there to out-muscle Knight. It's a good chance here. The ball comes across to Dale from about 14 yards out. Dale hits a decent effort, but it hits the outside of the post and goes wide. And if you thought that was a good chance for Dale, you've seen nothing yet, because into injury time, 47 minutes, Dale misses a golden chance. Murphy, once again sensational, shrugs off Collins down the left-hand side, marauds forward, slides it into Owen Dale, who's got such a golden opportunity to make it 4-0. It is basically a tap-in, but somehow Owen Dale makes an absolute Horlicks of it and puts it high and wide. And as a very almost like pessimistic and nervy Oxford fan, even at that point you're thinking, could that come back to cost us? But it was 3-0 to Oxford at half-time, and simply that is amazing. Peterborough have gift-wrapped things for Oxford, but you can't underplay the effort and the commitment and the work rate of the Oxford United players. They soaked up pressure when they had to, and they picked POSH off on the break expertly. Josh Murphy has quite simply been unreal and unplayable, and you can see the tiredness kind of creeping into the Peterborough legs. Peterborough do play some wonderful football going forward themselves, but they have been a bit sloppy in the final third, and they've not really got Poku and Mason Clark into the game enough, and Ricky J. Jones has been a bit out of form, and you can certainly see that in his play today. They'll also will rue that golden chance that they did miss at 1-1. Weirdly, I'm still a bit nervous at 3-0 up at half-time. Derby game in the back of my mind, and I don't know, just had a feeling that if Peterborough even got one, it would become a nervy afternoon. But 3-0 is above and beyond anything we could have expected at half-time. Got to see it through. Not surprisingly, Peterborough made 4 changes at half-time, and Johnson Clark-Harris coming onto the pitch. They're also almost a little bit worried when he's on the pitch that he could have one of his wonderful days and score a couple of goals quickly. But the game kind of fell into the pattern of the first half, really, and within minutes, Steer was making mistakes at the back, clearing his lines. He hit Harris with a clearance again, but this time it went over the high and wide and over the bar. And again, Peterborough giving the ball away to Mark Harris on 48 minutes. This time Hap Harris hitting not a great effort, which went wide of the goal. Oxford didn't have to wait too long to make it 4-0. 58 minutes, Oxford continued to put Peterborough under pressure. There were chances for Mark Harris, but it was Ruben Rodrigues getting his second of the game. Finn Stevens whipping a superb ball into the centre. Rodrigues arriving onto the chance, buried the header, and surely this game is beyond Peterborough now. Just a little side note before we go on. In the lead up to this goal, Oxford had a free kick for offside, and they took the free kick in the Peterborough half, which just baffled me. You could see Peterborough players like saying, "What is going on? How can that be off? How can that free kick be in our half?" But the linesman and the referee didn't seem to care, and they let it go. EFL rules and the interpretation of the rules is a lottery every single week. It didn't affect the game. It was one of those stupid little things that I just saw and it bugged me. And probably those meandering comments from me summed up how the game kind of went after that. It did sort of meander towards the finish. Peterborough still put some good moves together. 70 minutes, Poku got into space, and again, Oxford's determination to keep that clean sheet really shone through at the end of this game. Sam Long with a fantastic block, and a few minutes later, sweeping up the danger again when Peterborough looked to get in behind. Oxford still looked dangerous on the break. Marcus Brown on as a sub. Mark Harris put him through with an excellent through ball. Marcus Brown threw on goal, but he was too casual with his finish, and Steer was able to make the save. Minutes later, Oxford marauding forward again. It's Greg Lee getting forward. Nice to see Lee getting into forward areas, and he got sort of to the corner of the area on the left-hand side. Lovely effort from Lee, hit with a lot of power, low effort. Steer beaten, but it hit the post and bounced clear. But Oxford kept their discipline, and they were desperate to keep this clean sheet. And as much as Peterborough kept pushing forward and kept coming forward, those blocks and those challenges, or the punches clear from Jamie Cumming, continued to happen for Oxford United. And everything just seemed to go Oxford United's way today. And 89 minutes, the icing on the cake, as Oxford might be disappointed that they couldn't make it back-to-back 4-0 wins, because Billy Bodin made it 5-0, and it was probably the best finish of the game. Not even probably, it certainly was. A hopeful ball forward, really, and Bodin's done amazingly well. He's got 2 players around him. He brings it down on his chest. He gets free. He gets to the edge of the area, and it's like a dinked, drifted finish over the top of Steer into the top of the net. 5-0 Oxford United. What the heck has just happened? The only sour note is James Henry having to come on as a sub and go off as a sub injured. It didn't look great, and you're kind of wondering that might be the last we ever see of James Henry in an Oxford United shirt. I hope it's not, But that is kind of the only bad thing that happened, because this was wild and this was crazy. And yes, Oxford have hit form at exactly the right time. And they bloody won 5-0. So let's move on to the final thoughts, and let's start with the visitors, Peterborough United. That is a tough defeat for you guys to take today. I'm not into mockery or demeaning or anything like that. So a really, really difficult afternoon. Oxford have had one themselves recently against Bolton, where we were just absolutely smashed out of sight. I thought you laid more of a glove on us than we did to Bolton that day, but it was a same scoreline. Has been a great week for Peterborough. I know you were hoping that this win today would still put you with hopes of getting that automatic spot, but that's probably gone now, so the focus has to be on getting up through the playoffs. It's just, I mean, as much as it's been a good week, it's a strange week. And I did see a couple of tweets before the game talking about Darren Ferguson being under pressure. And I kind of dismissed it as kind of like silly talk, really. But now that game's played out and the loss that you've taken, is there bad feeling towards Ferguson? Is there fans that think he's not doing a good job? It was a strange decision in hindsight now to play the same team back to back to back. And you've certainly, it's not done you any favours there, has it? And Oxford have taken full advantage of that. And you did see a tired and leggy performance. Certainly when Oxford took advantage of the game, those players, the heads kind of drooped and they didn't really have a lot of energy left. But you're still in a great position, and you've still got a heck of a forward line. It might be misfiring a little bit of late, obviously Port Vale game aside, but it still has been devastatingly good at times this season. So what has maybe gone wrong, and what are your concerns, and what do you think you need to do to kind of get back to winning ways, first of all, and what are your thoughts about going into the playoffs, and if you can win them, and what chances you've got of going up through the playoffs? Because this still looks an excellent Peterborough side. There's no doubt about it, and you might be a bit annoyed about certain things, but what a quality team you've got. And certainly quality players coming off the bench. So maybe I would say from an Oxford point of view, going back to that game where we got beat by Bolton, we certainly used that as a line in the sand and moved forward quite strongly from that point. So hopefully from your point of view, Darren Ferguson can use that as like, okay, this can't happen again. We've got to get better from this point, from these remaining 3 or 4 games. 4 games I think you've got left to play. But I'd like to know your thoughts on today's game. Obviously, sloppy mistakes at the back has killed you, and Oxford took advantage of that. And Oxford did, going forward ourselves, we've been pretty ruthless lately, and we certainly saw that from Oxford today. But I'd be interested to know your thoughts on what you thought of Oxford United, what you thought of yourselves, what your thoughts are about going on to the playoffs. And you may not be any Peterborough fans watching this, but I'd like to know, even if there's one, let me know your thoughts on all those things. And good luck for the rest of the season, and who knows, we may be meeting each other again in the playoffs. That moves me on to Oxford United, and I've said it a couple of times throughout this video that this was above and beyond anything we could have hoped or dreamed of at the start of this game. We were hoping maybe to avoid defeat when we saw the starting lineup without Brannagan, without Elliott Moore, but those players have played. I don't think you could put any question that this is the best performance that Oxford United have put in this season. Massive credit to Des Buckingham straight off the bat, and it's not a Des Buckingham love-in, but you do have to give the guy credit. He needed this statement win as much as anybody did. There's been a lot of talk about Oxford. We've not been good under Buckingham when we played the top sides. He needed a victory like this today, as much as the players, as much as the fans did, to get that monkey off his back and to really put a lot of belief into this Oxford United side, into the fan base and into the club. And we were wondering about how this 4-1-4-1 tactic would work against a better side, and I think it worked spectacularly well, and I would be amazed if we changed that now for any of the games moving forward. Those players look so much more comfortable with those roles that they've had, and those forward players, led primarily through Josh Murphy, who is playing to a different beat of the drum, a different level to anybody else on the pitch today, is driving Oxford United forward, ably supported by Mark Harris, by Owen Dale. But Ruben Rodrigues and Tyler Goodrum certainly played their part today. But I'm going to give a special mention to Josh McEachran. Hasn't been a great season for McEachran. We've wondered what his value was to his side, but maybe he's certainly found a bit of form and found a bit of value in this role where he can literally just sit and do tidy things, and that is where you really see McEachran at his best. Just little things that he does of bringing Oxford United out of possession. He's comfortable on the ball in dangerous areas, and he certainly can pick a pass. And from set pieces, he can look pretty dangerous as well. It doesn't mean he's going to keep Brannagan out of the side, let's be honest about it, but it is nice to see McEachran coming in and putting in a good performance against a top quality side. And also massive shout out to Sam Bloody Long. Sam Long, much maligned, but he's been excellent in recent weeks as right back and steps in at centre back today. And I think that was an amazing performance from Long today. Won all his headers, challenges, blocks, clearances. He was amazing at the back, as was Finn Stevens, playing in that much more reserved role today, not going forward, not bombarding forward. I thought that was as impressive defensive display from Finn Stevens as I've seen. I think there was one mistake from Stevens today, but he made so many tidy little blocks, so many slide challenges, so many times he won possession or won a loose ball which kind of stopped a Peterborough momentum. I thought he was really good today, and it allowed those forward players to come forward. Ruben Rodrigues, you know, why we get so annoyed with Rodrigues is the fact he is mercurial, but he has these games in his locker, doesn't he? He was quite disciplined today in his performance, but he's got those bits of quality, but they've been so fleeting of recent weeks. It's refreshing to see him come back to form today with an excellent performance, and hopefully we're going to see the best of Rodrigues now for the next few games, and hopefully leading on into the playoffs, because he was excellent today. Oxford to a man were excellent. It is hard. Even Cumming, who didn't have much to do today, did his job superbly well. It was a joy to watch. Even at 3-0 up, I still had nerves in there today. But Oxford looked fantastically disciplined at the back and unstoppable going forward. So where does that leave us, Oxford United fans? Well, if you're anything like me, you'd be buzzing and you'll be excited and you can't wait for these games to come. We're in an amazingly strong place now in League One. Lincoln lost today. Blackpool did win. So we're 3 points ahead of Blackpool and we've played a game more. Well, sorry, Blackpool played a game more than us. That game in hand that we've got does come on Tuesday night against Lincoln. A Lincoln side that are now 5 points behind us. But let's not rule out the possibility of us catching Barnsley, who play Portsmouth on Tuesday. Only 2 points ahead of us. There is a possibility that we could be above Barnsley after Tuesday night, which is insane to think about. You thought we might just limp into the playoffs, but we're doing anything but. There's still a long way to go, and Oxford need to keep their feet on the ground. I'm sure we're all aware of that. But if you can't enjoy these moments at the moment, the way the team is playing, the fact we've scored 13 goals without reply, the fact that we look pretty disciplined at the back, pretty devastating going forward, all signs point positively. It's not job done. We need to bring this into the Lincoln game, which is going to be a tough game. I don't expect Lincoln to be anywhere near as expansive as what we've seen Peterborough play today. They'll be a lot more rigid and try and hit Oxford themselves on the counter-attack. So it's a different kettle of fish, that is for sure. But we should be confident now. We've turned the corner massively from that Bolton game, and what it seems like is we're roaring towards the finish line of finishing in the playoffs. And now you're even looking at it now and thinking, I'm a lot more confident about doing well in the playoffs. It's crazy. It's weird how football can turn around in just a matter of weeks. But credit to everybody involved with the club today. A difficult week in terms of the injuries that we've had, and everybody's come through and put in a remarkable shift and performance from manager to staff. And the fans came out today and supported the team from minute one. And I'm just a lazy bastard sitting in my armchair in Sheffield cheering the side on. So congratulations to all of you guys that went, fully deserved. But let me know your comments down below. Let me know what your thoughts are about going into this Lincoln game. And if you do have any negative comments to say, by all means put them down there. Let me know if you've got any fears or concerns, because there's still a few little nitpicky things around, I am sure. But enjoy your Saturday evening. I know I certainly were. And let's get behind the boys again for that massive game against Lincoln. And that could pretty much put us in the playoffs with a win. Come on, you Yellows. What a victory. I'll see you on Tuesday night.